Can we just talk about this trend that is happening everywhere? I'm talking about at dinner tables, on social media, and it's this discussion about perimenopause, menopause, cortisol levels, blood sugar levels. We are talking about it everywhere we go. And on the one hand, as a clinician, I'm thrilled because this is happening in real time in my life and all of my friends' lives. So I think the conversation is so important. However, there is a piece of it, there's an undertone that is just like getting under my skin. So the other day I was at dinner with some friends, and mind you, I love these women. And so I'm in great company. They start talking about perimenopause and they start hitting on brain fog, how they can't sleep, their libido is down. And there was something about the conversation that just irritated me. I was like, wait, why are we talking about something that I love so much, but I am like anxious and agitated and angry? And, I've been doing enough story work lately, which is understanding like the narrative in my head. And I didn't say anything. I was like, Jess, just keep your mouth shut. There's something deeper going on here. I knew that like my reaction to that conversation was not matching the situation. So there must have been a deeper story going on. So we wrapped up dinner. I didn't say a whole lot, left, and then went home and started unpacking it with my sweet husband. he hears like 25,000 words from me in a day. So I get home after talking at dinner and I'm like, babe, I got to talk about something. He's like, oh my gosh, okay, here we go. And so he sits down and listens to me. And in my verbal processing to him, what I realized is it's not the conversation that's driving me crazy. It's that the narrative feels oddly familiar. And if I go back to when I was a teenager and puberty hit, there were so many changes that were happening in my body. Nobody talked to me, and maybe it was the same for you. Nobody talked to me about what was happening in my body and how to move through those changes. Like I had an hour in health class, and then my sweet mom, who is a nurse, she tried really hard, but I was like, ew, mom, don't talk to me about this. And so I just found myself totally disconnected from my body and unsure how to navigate it. And the narrative that was inserted in my teenage years was your body is changing and it's out of your control. And so the reaction I had was, I need to control it. I can't be trusted. And what I'm seeing is that is the same conversation that is now happening in menopause and perimenopause with all my friends. It's just repackaged. It's like we moved past the body image stuff and now we're just, so angry at our hormones. And it agitates me. See, I'm like getting frustrated because I think at the bottom line here is we have been told our body is it cannot be trusted. And when we don't trust something, we try to control it. And that controlling creates this like tug of war with the very vessel we have been given to live in. And I am of the mind that your body is a temple. Your body is something that is a gift to you and it is your job to steward it well. We can't steward well something that we are constantly trying to like put in a box and change and shape and mold and control, because life is real. Things are going to happen. You're going to get a bad night's sleep. I'm sorry. Like it's just part of life. We have to learn how to roll with it. And I don't want in this next season, this next chapter of perimenopause and then menopause to be the same narrative we all experienced as teenagers, which is that our body isn't to be trusted, therefore it needs to be controlled. Because here's the reality. We have changes throughout a lifespan, puberty, babies, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause. Like women are always changing. No wonder we're a roller coaster of fun. We cannot look to control this. It is a wild ride. Instead, we have to learn about the season that we're in and how to lean into it and listen to our body. So like in efforts to partner with your body, I'm trying to partner with mine. I'm going to be talking today about how we don't repeat that same narrative we got back in the 90s, and we have a better one going forward. So the connection between our gut health and our mental resilience is absolutely amazing. Can we just talk about this trend that is happening everywhere? Okay, you can tell I'm on a soapbox about this. I'm really passionate about it. If I've met you before, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to the show. If I haven't, hi, I'm Jess, and I'm a registered dietitian. I love talking about food and nutrition and all the science behind it. And at the same time, I am a totally normal mom who hates cooking. I'm too busy for my own good. And I like me some cookies. So we really balance both here. And we talk about empowered eating, how to partner with food so you can better fuel your life and actually feel good in the skin you walk around in. So if you're here new to the show or you've been here for a while, I'm so glad. But I have two really exciting things to tell you. So, number one, I just had the pleasure of being on a TV show. It was so fun. I was interviewed by my friend Mike Gordon on the Perspective TV, which is a Christian-based TV show. It was a great conversation. And what I loved about it is that we got to talk about how nutrition fits into the faith conversation. And that is a conversation I just don't think we have enough of. In the church world, we talk about sex, alcohol, like finances, all of it. We don't talk about nutrition, which is the very thing, nutrition and air, the very thing we need to care for the temple that God has given us. So it was such a fun conversation. I'm going to link that in the show notes for you guys. And then the other exciting thing we have going on is that in the next 2 months, this summer, I'm opening up 10 intake assessment. So this is totally outside the normal thing that we do, but I just decided I want to make some new friends. And so if you have been on the fence about connecting with me, now is a great time. Normally, I only work with people inside my programs, but over the next couple of months, I will be meeting 10 new people. Hopefully one of them is you, where we can do a nutrition assessment. And here's the thing about those assessments, like here on the podcast, on our website and our resources, I do everything I can to give you this information that is very tangible and something you can take away. Like if you're on our mailing list, we just sent out a really awesome summer menu. So lots of cool stuff that comes your way. However, what helps turn this knowledge and these principles into action is the individual conversation. And so that's what I would love to have with you. So 10 of those spots are opening up. You can find information on the show notes, or if you're on our mailing list, it will be delivered to you there as well. Okay. Let's talk about this for a second. So we have been on this journey of hormonal changes, and perimenopause is happening for most of the people that tune into the show. But here's the thing. This isn't new. This is not a new thing within our body. We have been experiencing major hormonal shifts throughout an entire lifespan. Now, perimenopause, there are some specific things happening, but I just don't think it's that abnormal to us. So let's zoom out for a second. Puberty hit, and it hit hard. I don't know for you what it was like, but for me, it was a lot of acne. I was like, what is happening with all these zits, and I'm one of those, I like to pop them. So I was like scarring my face all the time. So satisfying. If you know, you know. But all these things were happening, all these changes. And nobody ever explained to me the cycle of female hormones. Instead, like I had mentioned, that narrative that your body is changing, it can't be trusted, therefore it needs to be controlled, started. Then we have young adult years where we get new jobs and we really usually change our activity levels, whether it's we stop playing sports, we have a desk job, maybe we have a more active job. Like usually there's a big shift in those young adult years. Then if you have babies, it's crazy. And then after that, there's that major drop, that dump in hormones postpartum that can set a lot of us up for postpartum depression. Now we have perimenopause, which is basically puberty in reverse. Like we're just going backwards. I'm getting acne now. And I'm going, don't pop it, Jess. Don't pop it. There's zit patches now, but it's like my inner 16-year-old's like, anyways, I could go on about that for a while. So, and then we got perimenopause, and then we have menopause. And the narrative tells us we are victim to this. And there's nothing farther from the truth. There really isn't. What I wish somebody would have told me when I was a teenager was, here is why your hunger increases. Here is why you have really big emotions in certain times of the month, and other times you're like cool as a cucumber. Here is why some girls have more breast development than you. Here is why you feel fatter the week before you start your period. Like all of these things would have been really, really good to know. And so I guess the reason that perimenopause conversation at dinner bothered me so much was because I don't want to repeat what I didn't get in my teenage years. And if I were to repeat it, here's how the perimenopause years would go. I would think, oh my gosh, perimenopause is here. There's nothing I can do. I'm just getting acne. I don't sleep through the night. I have low libido. Brain fog is real. Like, this is just my life now. I guess I'll just go on hormones. I mean, in teenage years, it was get on birth control. And not that I'm against hormones or birth control, but I just think we're missing a huge part of the conversation. And that is actually understanding what's happening in our body. So instead of hearing in the perimenopause and menopausal years, instead of just hearing like, fix the belly fat, hack your hormones, manage cortisol, like we really need to shift this conversation to what is happening inside my body and how do I need to recalibrate? I think that's the question. In my teenage years, there was such a big shift and my energy needs were dramatically higher. I was an athlete, I was active, and when those hormones kicked in, I needed more nutrition. And I missed that memo. And I think in the perimenopausal years, or even in the years we have babies, like there are constant nutritional shifts. And instead of getting the information on how to recalibrate our nutrition, we just get that here's the fix. And so I want to talk about how do we actually listen to our body? How do we hear what our body is trying to say? In the empowered eating world, this is what we call biofeedback. Biofeedback is literally the way your body talks to you. And I think of biofeedback in 3 categories. We have physical biofeedback, which is like hunger, satiety. It'd be what the poop report. That's the big one I like to talk about. Secondly, we have clinical biofeedback. This is your lab work, your blood pressure, your GI map, your hormone levels. These are all the numbers and the clinical data that we can take in and learn how to interpret and guide us in our nutrition. And then there's neuroemotional, and that's the psychology of food. That's the one that I think is so powerful and important to unpack because it involves your food story, the narrative in your head, your experience. It's incredibly powerful in understanding your journey with food. I mean, heck, it's why I got so irritated when I was talking with my friends at dinner. That was neuroemotional biofeedback. But here in the hormonal roller coaster that we are on, I think it's so important to hear biofeedback because then the trick becomes we stop looking at our body as the enemy and we start seeing it as a source of information. And when our body is telling us, hey, things are changing, and it starts to send us some alarms like acne, like changes in our bowel movement, changes in our sleep, that's just information. And it's great information because it's letting us know, hey, we need attention and we need some fine-tunement. So how do we listen to our body? How do we actually tune into biofeedback? The first way we are going to start listening to our body and actually hearing biofeedback is we have to turn down the noise. We have to stop consuming so much nutrition information. On the one hand, we live in a great day and age. We are in an era of amazing nutrition science and research and access to tools that we've never had before. And it's incredible. But there is definitely paralysis by analysis happening where we have so much information, we don't even know what to do. It is really hard to discern and listen to your own body when you're hearing 15 influencers, 7 podcasts, mom, Aunt Joe, little sister, all talk about what they think you should eat. One of the first things I love to ask the clients I get to work with is, what is your body actually telling you? What are your symptoms? And the first one is usually fatigue. And, I think fatigue is the symptom that fatigue is to symptoms what anger is to emotion. But anger is a serious emotion. It's a real emotion. And it's usually a high level of emotion. Like it's an easily accessed emotion that's indicating some other deeper emotions. Same thing with fatigue. Fatigue is a real symptom. However, it is typically a symptom that is easily explained or identified that is linked to other things happening. It might be gut health, it might be low iron, it might be low vitamin D. There's other things happening. So when somebody says it's fatigue, then I start to pull the string a little bit more. And I want to know what your symptoms are. So if you're sitting here and you're going like, yeah, I'm tired, what are your actual symptoms? What are your bowel movements? Are they healthy? Healthy bowel movements, I say shoot for 1 to 3 snakes a day. That's what we're going for. Anything outside of that is going to be constipated or loose stool, diarrhea. That's an indicator that we're not adequately absorbing the nutrition that we're taking in. A brain fog. Yeah, that is a symptom. What's happening? Is it a certain time of day? Is it after a bad night's sleep? Is it constant? Is it chronic? These are all things that your body is saying to you. But bottom line, we need to know what our symptoms are, not what everybody else's is. And sometimes that means actually turning down the noise and listing out our own symptoms. So that's number one. And I think the beauty of that is that when we can turn down the noise and start listening to our own body's biofeedback, our body starts becoming less of an enemy and more of a source of information. And this brings me to our main point number 2 in how we listen to our body's biofeedback. And it's that we have to build a foundation before interpreting those signals. This came to me. I was recently on a podcast summit. It's called the Burn Beautiful podcast. If you follow me on Instagram, I will be sharing those details. But the host, her name's Nicole, she asked me a really good question. She said, Jess, how do you know when your body is like trying to tell you something or it's just poor planning? So for example, she said, when I get home at 3 o'clock, sometimes I am craving a cookie. My body's like, I need sugar. And at face value, yes, I want to grab the cookie or the sugar or whatever. But if I zoom out, I actually didn't eat lunch and I have had very little protein that day. And so my body doesn't actually want sugar. It needs nutrition and it's just craving what's most readily accessible. And it was a really, really great question because it brings us to the second point. If we're going to tune in and listen to our body's biofeedback, we have to make sure we have some foundational pieces in place. So there's 3 foundational pieces: adequate fuel, hydration, and sleep. So let's break these down. Okay, so number 1 is adequate fuel. We have to be eating enough calories, enough protein, enough carbohydrates. And that's so important. I think oftentimes, like Nicole on the podcast was saying, she gets home at 3 and her body's telling her she needs sugar. And the reality is she may not need like straight sugar, but she needs blood sugar in her body because she hasn't eaten. Getting on a meal rhythm is so important because it lets the body, the nervous system know we are safe. And it helps us better interpret some of those cravings that pop up. So the question isn't oftentimes like, is this a hormonal problem? We first have to say, is this an underfueling problem? Underfueling calories, underfueling protein, underfueling carbohydrates. The second one is hydration. This one is huge. Every single metabolic reaction in your body is driven by fluid and electrolytes. And if we don't have enough of that, we are going to have some of our symptoms be off. And here's the thing about electrolytes. So you have electrolytes inside your cell and outside your cell. So when they're outside your cell, that's actually what's floating around in your blood. So if you ever go get your lab work done and you get your magnesium tested, you're testing your extracellular blood work or your extracellular electrolytes. Here's the thing. Your body loves balancing itself. So if you don't have enough electrolytes in your blood, it's going to borrow from inside your cells. And then your cells are dehydrated. But you're not going to see that on a standard lab test. And so oftentimes what I'm finding is people say, well, I got my electrolytes tested and they're normal, but I ask them what they're drinking and are you taking in electrolytes? They're not. And so I have the question, are your cells thirsty though? Are your cells dehydrated? So I think of like turning your cells from, there's a great dietitian, I'm forgetting, Dr. Heather Finley, she's amazing. But she always says, turn your cells from raisins to grapes. Like, let's just hydrate them. And we do that with fluid and electrolytes. And so this one is wonderful because, first of all, you can listen to your body. If you're peeing and your urine is darkly pigmented or odorous, you need more fluids. You need more water. If you think to yourself, when is the last time I had water? You need more water. And if you're feeling like, something might be off, I don't know if I'm getting enough electrolytes, add some, see how your body feels. And the cool thing about electrolytes is a quick fix. And then you can tune in and listen to how your body's feeling after that. The third is sleep. And this one is so important. Not because we're always going to get amazing sleep, but we have to think, am I evaluating my body's biofeedback through the lens of exhaustion? It's so important to think about this. And that one hits pretty hard because I think in the perimenopausal years, in the baby years, gosh, I mean, I've struggled with insomnia and poor sleep my whole life, not because I wouldn't even say it's because of hormones. They have an impact, but it's just because I'm a very like high energy person. It's really hard to turn my brain off. And so sleep is challenging for me. I always say if I could have one superpower, it would be to not sleep. Like, do you know how much I could do in the night? Anyways, that's not a reality. That is not an option. And so when we have a poor night's sleep, we have to take the next day in that context. Like, am I evaluating this through the lens of fatigue? I'll never forget when I was pregnant with my second, I had this week where I was an emotional basket case. I mean, I remember sitting with clients and tears were welling up behind my eyes. I didn't even know why. I couldn't focus on my discussions. I was angry at my husband for everything. Like, well, you're breathing again and it's annoying. And I was like, something is wrong with me. Like, these hormones have really hit a new level. And so I go to a therapist. I make an emergency therapist appointment. And she starts talking to me and she goes, Jess, how much sleep are you getting? And I was like, I don't know, not a lot. She does a little intake and realized I was extremely fatigued. And she goes, Jess, not that these emotions aren't real. Everything you're feeling is valid and it's real, but I think they're amplified because you're exhausted. And I think sometimes this happens with our biofeedback. We are really hungry, or we feel like we can't make it through the workout, or something in our body feels very extreme. And it's not that it's not a real piece of communication, but if we're looking at it through the lens of exhaustion, we have to consider the context and understand that it is likely amplified. So these are foundational. Eating enough, staying hydrated, and adequate sleep. These are foundational when we're looking to interpret our own biofeedback. When we can start to take these two, when we can turn down the noise, lay some really solid nutrition foundation, and tune into our body, guys, it is amazing what starts to happen. And my favorite part about this empowered eating journey is that it really gives you a framework on how to live in the context of whatever hormonal season you are in, because your body is constantly feeding you this information. We just have to learn how to better understand and interpret it. So when you were a teenager, your body wasn't betraying you. It was just changing. You needed to recalibrate. When you were pregnant, your body wasn't betraying you. It was just changing and you needed to recalibrate. Now, in perimenopause and the menopausal years, your body is just changing and we may need to recalibrate. And that's a very normal thing. You're not broken, sister. We just have to better understand. So today, my takeaway for you is that one, let's go ahead and turn down the noise, get a list of what some of those symptoms are. What is your body actually telling you it needs help with? And in looking at those symptoms, have we laid the foundational nutrition pieces? Once we have those symptoms, then we can go to trusted sources and start to figure out what our body is actually asking for. Maybe she needs more attention in the gut health department. Maybe she needs some downtime. Maybe she needs to learn how to rest. I mean, so many women I work with, myself included, rest is more of a discipline than like doing all of the things because we're so hyperactivated. But bottom line, your body is talking to you. And I am so excited for you to start listening. Turn down the noise on Instagram, turn up the noise on your body. Make sure you tune in, subscribe to the show, to the channel. We have so many cool things coming your way. And if you want to have a conversation about your body and its biofeedback, I would love to connect with you. I have 10 of those nutrition assessment spots open. All right, until next time, have an amazing day. Cheers and happy eating.